right, welcome back. We are getting ready to start part 2 of The Great Crisis of Frederick 2. We are going to start that now. Before I do, there was one thing that I forgot to do in the last turn, very minor, but we'll do it now. And that is when the Prussians took Leipzig down here and took control, I forgot to show that they in fact gained one of the resource spaces with so we move the Prussian marker from 5 to 6, and then the whole alliance marker itself will move up to 11 to show that they did in fact grab a resource marker there. So that's important to remember. And I am going to take us over here to the battlefield for a minute to tell you that I was asked to put this image file up on Board Game Geek. So if you have any interest in going to Board Game Geek and grabbing this and printing it out for your own use, it is now there. So just wanted to mention that. And let's get back. Let's dive right in. So when we last left off, we had finished, where did my chit cup go? It's up here. So we had just finished up with the, we pulled the Prussian chit, of course, because it was one of 2 Prussian chits in the cup. So we just went through the Prussian turn, or the, not really turn, I guess it's the phase. And so, you know, when you pull the chit, of course, you go through all the procedures here in the phase. Of course, the one that's missing down here is check for victory. Even though it's a little early for that, remember to do that. So we are now come to the part of the game where we pull the chit, gone through the phase for the Prussians, and now we pull another chit. And if you've been paying attention, you know the other chit is, of course, it's Prussian. So let's set the cup out of the way, and then I'm going to take this chit and just move it down here for now. Let's see. I'm just going to put on the turn track for now because we're eventually going to go back into the that cup again. All right, so what that means is we start back up. We go back up to start at the first step of the procedure for the phase. So that is, of course, check lines of communications for the entire network. And remember that's everybody. That's not just the Prussians. So we would look to see that everyone can trace line of communication back to a resource marker on the board. So we know nothing's really changed over here. Nothing much has changed down here. The only thing that really changed was here and here. So in this area, we had these units retreat, but they retreated to a resource base, so they're okay. And then these guys might not be so lucky. They retreated out of this space into this space. So can they trace? I don't think they can. And now I'm wondering if they could have even done it. Maybe I might have missed that in the first turn because these are the Saxony units that were up here. And that was not a resource. That was not a resource space. So I'm wondering if I missed that on this first turn. Did they start out of line of communication? I didn't think they did. Interesting. Well, I have to make a note of that and go back and look to see if that's actually the case. Because that's just a regular old fort. And that was a regular fort. And this line certainly, well, what is this? This is, no, that's Prussian. So this line goes back into Prussia. And going this way, it goes back into Prussia. And then up here, of course, this is Prussian. So I think they might have been, I think the line of communication there might have been, they might have been out of line of communication. So they should have been isolated. So what does that mean? All right, so that is correct. They were actually isolated. It wouldn't matter at this last turn or the last phase because they did retreat down to Thorn. So now 2 units down here. So in checking for the LOC network, that's going to be the only 2 that are isolated. So let me grab an isolation marker, which I have handy somewhere around here. Actually, I should have lots of those. So I'm going to mark those 2 units as isolated. And like I said, that should have been done initially, but I I had thought that was a resource fort, but no, it's just a regular fort. Now, if according to the rules, if these guys just decide to retreat into a fort, then according to the rules, if you are in a fort, you are never considered to be isolated. So that is something to remember as well. So we did number one. We checked for isolation, and other than those guys, no one else is isolated. So we go down to 2, determine action points. And remember, the way we do that is the Prussians automatically get, and we're looking over here, the Prussians automatically, and I guess I didn't reset this, that's what I'm looking at. So the Prussians start off with 2 automatically because they're Prussians, and that's just the way it goes. And then we roll a d6. I will remember to switch the camera, and we will roll a d6 and see how many we add. And that looks like a 3. It's hard for you to see that, but I rolled a 3. So 3 plus 2 is 5. And I will switch back. So 3 plus 2, that's 5 action points for the Prussians. That takes us to step 3, recovers and moves their forces. So here, this is where I could spend action points to recover depleted units and move forces like we did last time. And I'm going to reach over and grab my summary sheet. So I'm going to spend an action point. That'll take us down to 4. And I'm going to put and if you're wondering what I'm doing off board, I have the tray of markers that I am digging through to find these, the markers. I'm going to mark him as being recovered. Oh, well, first I'm going to flip him because that's the first thing we did. We spent the action point to actually recover him, but this recovered marker reminds us that he cannot march this turn. So that is done. Are there any other units that were depleted? I don't think so. I think it was just that one. Okay. So, and then move. So this is where we pay action points to move. So, Dresden is still a target for us here. So, we can either move this stack or this stack. And I think I want to move this stack. And that'll give this guy time to recover and rejoin the original stack. I'm going to do that. I'm going to march this stack down to Dresden. We'll scoot these guys over. Of course, I forgot to deduct the action point for that. So that's going to take us down to 3. And remember this this yellow marker on the action point track, that's where the Austrians decided to retreat some units, so they have to pay for those when it's their turn, if it ever gets to be their turn. So okay, we've deducted the action points. They've moved down here. I will put one of my red markers on that to show that there will be a battle there. And it looks like there's some garbage on the board. I'll move that. All right, what else do we want to do? So we had these guys on the run, these isolated units, and they are 2 of those units, 2 of those Saxony units. Do we want to? I'm looking at, so we have this stack here. We could bring this stack down and continue to try to chase these Saxony units and maybe destroy them. Or we could also consider bringing this stack towards Sweden over here and get them. I think that's a resource marker too. It is. So we could do that. We could also bring this stack forward and try to grab, what is that up there? Stralsund. So do I want to do that though? Because like I said, we also have this stack. Frederick is sitting here. He could also march back up that way. We've got some Austrians down here, though, that we're going to have to be careful of. So we got 2 leaders over here, and it looks like they each have 3. So I think I am going to bring am I though? I don't like the idea of. I don't like where Sweden is up there. They're actually on the board here with a leader, and they have 3 units, so that's really a stack of 4. I don't really want them running around unchecked up there either. So I might just move this stack. I think we're gonna have our hands full down here. There's 1, 2, 3 stacks of Austrians, and we have really 3 stacks of Prussians, because this really is just 1 stack. Yeah, let's do that. Let's march. I'm gonna pay 1 action point. That's gonna take us down to 2. In this stack, I'm going to march towards Sweden over here. Well, not really. Sweden's off the map. It's really Stralsund. So remember when I march, so they're in Danzig over here. So when you march from friendly area to friendly area, it only costs 1 action point to do that because you don't have to stop and it's all friendly. So this stack can actually move from Danzig to Kolberg with that 1 action point. So let's do that. Well, now wait a minute. See, I'm thinking again, maybe thinking too fast. Because if I move these guys forward, now this stack is free to cause trouble up here. See, if I bring this stack towards these Swedish units here, then these guys can march up easily. And I could leave some people behind, I guess. We also have this guy over in, oh, that's a resource marker too. I don't know if I want to move him. And there are, what did I say there are? There's really 4 units there. Well, I'm going to bring these guys down, and that they can only go 1 space because it's they're encountering enemy forces here in Thorn. So let's go ahead and move them. I may regret this, but find out. That's the fun of playing a game, right? So we're going to move down to Thorn. There will be a battle there. I still have 2 movement points that I can use. I am going to bring this stack we've got to worry about. I don't know what's going on over here. That is just a fort. That is just a fort. 1 action point. That'll take us down to 1. I'm going to move. Who is the? Well, it doesn't matter. Let's just bring these guys. Are going to come down 1, 2 here. And I'm going to spend that final action point to move this stack down with them. And again, it's going to be, I don't want to come this way. I could go 1, 2 and bring them down here. I think I want to keep them together though, because that's a pretty powerful stack of units. It's there's 8 units there. So I'm going to bring them down with that same stack. So let's do that. Bring these guys down. I knew that was going to happen. I was just wondering when. The new set of tweezers, I'm not used to them yet because they operate exactly opposite of the old set that I have. I'm just going to bring those guys down. No need to put a red marker. There'll be no battle there. So we are out of action points. We've recovered. We've moved. And now we fight battles. We will start here in Thorn. So what I will do is I will get everything moved over to the battlefield, and we will start there. All right, so get rid of the red marker. We will bring the get the leader over here. So we have the Austrians. And I've got them in the defense. I don't know if you can see that on the board, but this is actually the attackers go below this white line that I've got. And like I said, this is on Board Game Geek if you want to check out your own copy of it. And then I'm going to move the isolated marker just off the board. So these guys, remember, they start, I think they're upside down. They have 2 Saxony units. They start in the field with outside of the fort. Then battle marker, I'm just going to put over there in Thorn, just so we know where this battle was. And so we're going to have a battle. So first things first, this is where Saxony can choose to retreat, or they can choose to stand and fight in the field, or they can choose to retreat into the fort and fight. So I'm going to flip back real quick to show you that. So they were in Thorn here. This is where I put the battle marker. The only place they could go, well, I guess they could go up to Danzig. I was going to say the only place they really could retreat to is down here, this Posen. And then Danzig, I don't know if they could retreat back up to there, and I don't know why they couldn't. I guess they could retreat back up to Danzig. But we're not going to have them do that. So let's go back to the battlefield. Like I said, these units were isolated, so what they can do and what they're going, well, I'm going to have to take that back because again, this is a, I forgot this is a size 1 fort, and a size 1 fort, only one unit can go into the fort. The other one would have to stand in the field and fight. Now, that may not be a bad thing because what that would mean is it would give a shot at whoever's in the fort. If they somehow succeed the first or survive the first round, they can actually bottle up these Prussian forces in Thorn. So they could be a delaying tactics. That's one thing to consider. So you can, in fact, retreat. Oh, I should say they can retreat. At least one or both could retreat back to Danzig. I'm going to have one of these units is actually going to go into the fort. Because only one can go into the fort. And instead of standing here and fighting this Prussian army, I think this other unit is going to retreat back to Danzig. So we'll just put that one out. All right, so I think where I'm getting hung up here, where I got hung up is they can't retreat because this is an enemy controlled space, so they can't retreat that way. So they could only retreat this way to I can't read this. Posen, yeah. So they can only retreat this way, and I don't really think that's a good idea because why would you run from a fort to a city? So let's go back to the battlefield. So I think what's going to happen is they're just going to stand their ground. One unit can go into the fort. This other poor guy is going to just stand out here, and we will fight. So the Prussians do have tactics cards. So let's take a quick look at their tactics cards and see if these are playable here. Showing up, I think it is. So this is cavalry charge. So that's not going to be any good. Recall. This is for a winter turn, and after rolling to determine your action point, you get +2. I actually could have used that one at the start of this phase, but there was really no point in it as I didn't really want to. I didn't have that many actions to do anyway. So no tactics cards to be used, and the defender always fires first. Now remember that this guy was isolated, so there are some restrictions on what he can do, and it says isolation. Isolated units in battle roll half the dice, round down. Die roll modifier -1 when checking for an. So basically, it looks like they get. I think there's probably a minimum here. It says it's one die less, but I think they're actually going to get 1. I think you always get 1 minimum. Let me double check that real quick. So we did tactics cards. We looked at that. There was no retreating. This is a field battle, so it's not a fort battle. And I'm looking at it says round down, so I'm guessing they can't roll. They can't do anything, which is kind of unfortunate. So I guess we go right into the Russian turn. So we have this. We do have a leader here that can give 4 of these units. I'm going to scoot, including his own when you include. So I said earlier that these leader units actually also count as a unit because they do have men with them. So he can give his bonus to 4 units. So it's including him, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. So these 2 would not get the bonus when they fire. So we would roll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6d6. So I'm going to grab That is 6d6, and his bonus is, I think it's a +1, because this is not a fort battle. So he gets not a fort battle, so I believe he does get his bonus. I'm double checking. So he has he's a 1, so it's going to be a +1 to whatever is rolled here. So grab my d6 and d6 dice and roll. Looking for 6s here. Well, let's see. Can you see all those? There's 2 6s right off, so we know those hit. I'm going to move them up here so you can see them. There's 1. It's probably hard to see back here. It's 5. So adding 1 to all those doesn't change really what's rolled. It's 3 hits, so without a doubt, this guy is eliminated. So we will put him back into the Saxony unit reserve. And that is that. And then what happens is now they are sieging this. We'll move them up. It includes you. Now they are sieging the fort. So now we go to a fort battle. And what that is going to mean is, so his leadership bonus will not come into play here. They have to roll 6 to get a hit. And so the guy in the fort, he'll get a +1 to his attack. And of course, the defender always gets to fire first. So we will start with the Saxony unit here, and there's 1 of those, so he will roll 1d6. He's looking for 5 or 6, and he rolls a 1. So not good. He misses. And now the Prussians will return fire. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So again, 6d6s. What do I get there? 5, there's 6. So they are looking for 6s only. Only 1. And they don't get any. They do not get any. 5 was as high as they rolled. So that's it. You only do 1 round of battle for a fort battle. So I'm going to bring the units back out onto the main board. And I will move the battle marker off. That's going to bring the, so this Saxony unit is still in Thorn. And then all of these Prussian units are still sieging that fort. And this is, like I said, this is how you can delay forces, you can tie up forces. So with that happening, these Prussian units are now unsuccessful in taking Thorn, so they have a choice to make. I'm going to move this battle marker back to the main board over here, or the sideboard, I should say, and then we come over to Dresden, and we have a battle here. Same thing. I'm going to move. Well, let's grab our battle marker here. I'm going to move the units over to the battle board now. So let's do that. All right. So we are here at the. We start in the field. This is a resource fort, so it's a you get 2 units can go inside the fort, and they get a +2 bonus. So again, though, before anything happens, the defender here has the choice to retreat. And again, let's flip back real quick. We're going to switch back to the main map. So they were here in Dresden. They can choose to retreat. Gorlitz, Lobositz, and well, no, they can only go to those 2. Well, actually, they could retreat. No, they can't, because there's a Prussian army that way. So they only have these 2 spaces they could retreat to. And I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. I think they're going to stay right where they are. If nothing else, we get to see it out of the battle. So let's do that. So what they are going to do, however, is they are going to retreat into the fort. So these 2 units, because it is a resource fort, will retreat into the fort. Russian units will advance to siege that fort. And so his rating is only a 4. That's why I've got him broken out the way I do. So he can only give his bonus. Well, it's not going to matter because it's a fort. So never mind. So again, the defenders get to fire first. It is a resource fort, so they get to add 2 to whatever they roll. And so let's grab 2d6. And they will fire first. And they roll 2 6s. So they don't even need the bonus there. They just roll 2 6s. And what that's going to do is deplete 2 of these Prussian units. They will not be able to participate in this battle. All right. And so now there are 6 Prussian units firing back at those 2 Austrian units, or Saxony units, really. So they're going to roll 6d6, and they have to get a 6 to hit. And they do, they get 1. So that's going to deplete one of these units. That unit is depleted, and that is going to, that's 1 round of a battle fought there. So that's it. That's all they can do. Dice out of here. All right, so I am going to move these units back to the main map, and we will start back over there. All right, so those units are back in Dresden. We have the units, Saxon units here are 1 depleted, and then the other is okay. We have 2 depleted Prussian units, and then the remaining Prussian units, they're sieging Dresden. So that was interesting. And that, I think, is all the battles we had. We had 1 up here and 1 down here. Both were stagnant, I guess you could say. So not good battles for the Prussians there. Moving right along, so we fought our battles. Now we remove recovery markers from units, and then we only have 1 of those. That was up here in Leipzig. So we're going to take this recovery marker and move it back to prey. So now this guy is recovered. And then the next step would be to mark control spaces. Well, control didn't change hands anywhere. Unfortunately for the Prussians, they tried. We check if we can draw tactical cards. No, can't do that. And victory conditions are not yet met. So that's going to be the end of the second Prussian phase for this turn. And that is going to end the turn. Where are we? Yeah, here we go. So we return discarded cards to your decks. So nobody discarded any cards. There's no events, and then it says slide the turn marker to a new turn. So that's what we will do. Okay, so we can do that. So the turn track is over here, and this is the game turn marker. What that means is these chits will now come into play. So we advance the turn marker to turn 2. I'm going to grab the cup because the original 2 Prussian markers go back in. The 2 that started the game go in. And then turn 2, we pull, it looks like 3 more to go in the cup. And we've got an Austria, another Austria, and the turn end. And remember, if we draw that turn end chit, the turn does just that. It will end. So I am going to stop it here again. And then when we come back, we will start turn 2 and we will go through it. I've done everything like I was supposed to, but as always, please go back, double check me. I am still learning the game. There's not a lot of rules. It is easy to forget things, like moving the control marker when you take resource ports and resource cities. I think I did everything right. Probably made some stupid decisions over here with these Saxony units, but there's not a whole lot they can do anyway. So we'll see. When we come back, we will start turn 2, and there's a lot more to come out of that action chit cup, so maybe the Austrians will finally get a chance to move. We will see. So as always, thank you for watching, and I hope you come back to see how this turns out.